Let's go! What are we going to talk about today?
So, welcome, guys. Welcome to our very first podcast on Couple of Conversations.
Yay!
So, um, we had an Instagram poll, and most of y'all have voted for cultural differences. So that's what we're going to try to cover as much as we can today. Maybe it becomes a series. Let's see how it goes. So I think what are we going to discuss today, Tamara?
Yeah, I think the main topic that came out of the cultural differences is the me versus we culture.
All right, so I think we're going to have to explain a little bit what do we mean by me versus we culture. Would you like to take it away?
Take it away.
Yeah. That's how it is, yeah.
Okay, the me culture is more individual based, and
correct,
the we culture, the we culture is all about like the group.
Yeah.
About us.
Correct.
Instead of like me, like the giveaway, and mostly the we culture is more based in the east of the world, you can say, and the me culture is most of it based in the east.
Yeah, relatively speaking.
The east, the west.
Yes. The west, yeah, okay.
Yeah, the west.
East, west.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So, let's I think what we should do, maybe we try to break it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Further, right? So now in the me versus we culture, what should we, let's say, I think one of the first things that kind of pop out into your head, especially if you are maybe living with the family. Now in the we culture, you might be living with the family, you might not be living with the family. But the culture, you will find it even if you are, living away from the family. More so if you're living with the family, then of course it's a lot more intense.
Yeah, it's really it's really integrated in the way you're living, the way the contacts are, I think, and right? Yeah, the connections and everything. Yeah.
And of course, I think like what we're when we are highlighting these differences, I think it's also important to note that each one of these, like, they're just basically different ways of living, and you of course will see positives in both and negatives in both. There is no perfect system in either. So what's the first concern, or not concern, let's say, the first difference that we will probably talk of under the me versus we culture?
What is something that we really come across too?
Oh,
as of course, you being from India, me being from the Netherlands. And I have been living in India with the family.
And I have been living in the Netherlands with only Tamara and our son. Who is now almost 3 years old.
So we have have experienced both.
3 years, more than 3 years
both
old.
Worlds. 3 years. So we have experienced both worlds, actually.
Correct.
So the main thing I think is difference in the me versus we culture is really privacy, I think.
Yeah, you see a lot of difference in that. Just, being in your own space, especially when we're living with the family, I think, so obviously if you have a couple of members more in the house, full time, not visiting or something, then of course you're sharing space daily with the other family members, and obviously then there's more people, more routines, more things going on. Can be a little chaotic at times also,
especially if you are living with a bigger family, because if you come to think about it, there are 9 people in the house, if we're talking about family.
True. Was it 9?
I think so. If you count us all
when you say it like that, even I feel like, wow, we were living with 9 people.
Yes.
I think you know what it is, you, especially when you come from that culture, it's just what you're used to. You're so used to it,
having everyone around.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people in the house. Yeah, big deal, These are people grew up with. But then for the other person who's not only maybe new to the family, but also new to this whole concept and culture.
Exactly.
Where suddenly you're just used to your individual space, and now it's every day is a kind of a party in the house, if you would say.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's
because
good,
I'm
but sometimes
so
it's a little
used
too
to
much.
actually like live by myself all these years, like just be in my own space in my own world, and of course you came across also. At a certain point, at a certain point.
Exactly.
But and then suddenly have a bunch of other people also there, being there. It's at points it's quite intense because of the privacy part, like moving from your own space and following your own rhythm.
I mean, you're also like, through the day you are, you may have your own things to do and routines or whatever, but you are still sharing space with like other members of the family. So they have their things going on, you have your things going on in one space.
Of course, everyone has their own bedroom and everything, but still, it's like for us, it's very like common that you really like knock the door. You would never, or at least like I would never I never had the experience that just like someone would randomly like open the door and just come in. Like during the day, because then you think like, oh, finally you have your own kind of little space where you can like work in peace and stuff, and then still you can actually need to be on the alert that someone can just open the door and just still ask you.
Like I think in our culture, growing up together, we are so, let's say, borderless. Like, you have, so, you have rooms and everything, and maybe each person, is doing their own thing and whatever. But we kind of just keep integrating between someone comes in and, hey, whatever, maybe you need to ask a question, discuss something, whatever. But there's no like, let's plan it out, like, okay, after 30 minutes we'll talk or something. It just happens spontaneous. We're a very spontaneous culture, what can I say?
True. But like it's doing quite a bit of like focus in some way also, because like,
what do you mean?
To come back to like, if you're doing a task and someone is constantly coming in here and there, then like you need to get back to your focus. Like, I'm completely out of my focus, and then it takes me a lot of time to like come back to.
That's again, as I said, I think it all boils down to again the same thing. Like, I think that also happens with us also. It's not like it can, but I think it's because you're so used to it, like you can make that switch faster. Whereas obviously it's very, you can understand that for a person who's not used to it, it's like, okay, like I need to really put effort to get back into that space that I was
flow,
in. All these kind of things. So I think that's the first one. I think privacy is one of the things.
And it moves actually directly kind of towards like adjustments. Also.
Exactly.
Like kind of like in the me culture, there's almost no one to be adjusted to.
Like
you just have your own, and that's it.
That's it.
Like you can live your life exactly the way you want, kind of. Of course, like there are always like external factors, but
true.
Like you just plan in your own time and everything, and it just goes kind of according.
True. It's easy to just have your own set of things without any change of plans or interference, or like like a different let's say like an interruption or whatever, and unexpected thing to happen,
pop up
to pop up suddenly, exactly. That way.
And of course, like if you are stepping into a relationship, then already you have one person to adjust to each other, kind of. Of course, that's just what a relationship is.
Exactly.
So and like you're kind of like finding the middle ground in that. But then suddenly, if you're in a we culture, then you have so many more people to adjust to.
There's a lot of middle grounds to find.
Yes, exactly. So it's like a huge like learning.
No,
lesson.
I agree. Like, and sometimes I think also, this is something I don't remember if I shared with you, right? So when I was with one of our business associates recently, I think in the last trip maybe, and I don't know, we were discussing more about like how it is, that you're staying with us and this kind. And when I kind of explained to him, of course, with so many people and all, there's adjustments and these kind of things. And like he just got it. He was like, yeah, I mean, he said like, yeah, we never think of that. Like that's such a, it's just a completely different world. Like he could just immediately imagine, and I was like, okay, I'm impressed. Like because he doesn't have that experience in his house. Like his wife is Indian also, but he just got it immediately, and yeah. So yeah, it is quite a thing.
Yeah,
I see that. I mean, after talking with him, suddenly even I went into that thought, and I was like, oh yeah, that's true. Like, I mean, it just is such an easy switch for us, but I can imagine how it is for the other person who's never been in this kind of environment before.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we're talking about adjustments. So coming back to that, yeah, there's adjustments with it can be like the simplest of things, like right from food, maybe and everything. Of course, that's a whole maybe different segment that we'll get into.
Yeah, but mainly also timings. Like everyone has their own kind of timings and how to get adjusted to that.
I mean,
like,
for sure. Yeah. So I mean, like right from like your meals, your routine, your timing. So like what time which person wakes up, when the meals are made, when who's eating the meal, who's going where, when. Just
different moods of everyone, of course, where you need to kind of like find your you really like it's kind of like
community living.
Yeah,
it is totally. That's what the we culture is.
Yeah, and it's really like learning so much about, teaching you so much about like different characters and different way to approach someone, or like how to interpret certain things, and
that's
always like
kind
of like okay, like being open to different ways of like communication, mainly also. So it's a big learning school.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The biggest one, I think.
For sure,
one of the biggest ones. Yeah.
Time adjustment is, I think, one of those things, or the time distribution rather. Like you want to have a balance, of course, that okay, maybe you're spending a lot of time with the family before you met your partner, and now your partner is living with you. So you also need to ensure now that there's a proper amount of time that you give to your partner as well. At the same time, you don't want the family to feel like, oh, we've lost our kid.
That anyways, they always feel.
Yeah.
The marriage just comes.
Yeah, I guess so. I think that's.
I'm losing my kid.
I don't know. Is there an aspect of that translates in other cultures as well?
I think that's in every culture.
Right? I think so.
Especially for mothers, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I'm losing my kid.
I think that's to some extent that's a universal thing. In a way, but different degrees, I think, based on how the culture is. So. Yeah. So
of course, there you're still in the house. If you're living in India, of course, and you're still there.
What do you mean? I didn't get
distributing your time. If you're not like spending enough time with your family, they won't think like I lost my kid. Right?
Oh yeah, of course, not that. But I mean to say, not like physically you're not away from them, but like it shouldn't. There's a new dynamic added into the family. A person that wasn't there before is now added to the family. So now, like, there's more interactions between each one, and now the husband, if we're considering generally, the wife comes to live with the husband, mostly, at least in the Eastern cultures. And now you have, like, you of course want to spend time with your wife, but then, you want to ensure that you're still, interacting or spending time with the family the way you used to, kind of. So basically, you have a limited amount of time that is now getting divided.
Exactly.
That's, I think, the summary of this.
And
thing.
I think that's quite a challenge, I think. Like, when we are, of
easier
course,
said than done.
Because when we are living by ourselves, then it's already kind of like a challenge because of our work, and of course because of our parenthood, and
true.
And then added up like extra family members that maybe each one of them also wants to spend time. Then like it's a big challenge to also have time with each other still, I think.
True.
So how do others do that in India? Tell us.
I think, yeah, no, for sure. We'll be interested definitely to hear from y'all. And yeah, I'm sure, everyone has different perspectives on it, and yeah, everyone has different ways of dealing with it. But yeah, I think it's more common than we think. It's just a question of maybe, how many times or how many of us actually sit down to talk about it. Because the problem, I think, is that most of us, most of the times, we're just like living through life without really taking the pause to discuss, like, oh, guess, like, this is how the experience is. What do you feel about this? Because this is now a new experience for us. This kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. Next one. Which one is the next one? So that was the time part. And okay, yeah. Now, when we talk about distributing time, I think we can also talk about the individual decision making versus collective decisions.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, how can we forget that, right? The great Indian family get together that we have in the evening many times.
Yeah.
So, in the day also sometimes, but mostly in the evening, because that's when, like, you're done with work for the most part, and all these things. So yeah, maybe you should tell us, how has your experience been as being part of this collective decision making process? Good, I hope.
Yeah, good. No, mainly I think, like, because for me as a Dutchie, like, we like to take decisions fast. We just want to be clear, like, okay, this is it, and that's what we do. And then I came in to the family discussions in the evening.
And that was when she knew.
Ages, yeah, like endless discussions.
What she had got herself into.
About, like, the same topic. And for my feeling, it goes round and round and round. And I'm like, okay, get to the point, guys,
Yeah,
but, like, I must also say, like, of course, that impatience is also there many times. But, like, it also is nice to really, like, kind of hear out different perspectives,
I was just gonna say that.
Kind of, like, so it kind of broadens your, like, ideas or views upon, like, a certain topic.
Correct.
So, yeah, I think that's a very beneficial thing of, like, having, like, a discussion, group discussion. About, like, it's really more about, like, the common good instead of, like, only the individual
True.
good,
that's
say,
what, like, so depending on what we're discussing about, I think it can that's one aspect of it, where sometimes maybe you have to take a decision based on what's suitable for everyone now, since you're all, maybe it's a decision relating to the house, to something about our routines, maybe something that we're going to do next, I don't know, whatever. It can be so many different things, where you kind of now, because you're all living together, need to see, okay, but if this is going to change, or we're going to do something different, how is this going to impact all of us?
Exactly.
And how are we going to adapt to
or
it?
A smaller subgroup of that whole group also. How is that, for example, like, if it goes about our son or so, like, it's like many times then, like, we would say, like, yeah, but I as a mother feel like this, like, and that's just how
that's just grandmother feel like this.
And then that person has then their other view or so, like, but, like, maybe many times in the me culture, we are very, like, used to, like, we are the parents, so, like, we just decide, point, But, like, and then actually you're excluding other very valuable, like,
pieces of information.
Exactly. So, like it's really, like, if you are open to it, like, it can add so much more value to, like, the common good of, like our son, but also us as a family in, like, the longer run, kind of. So it's a different way, but, like,
True. I mean, at the same time, like, it has, depending on, I mean, so many of these things really boil down to so many specifics. But, like, it can also be a case of sometimes, like, you end up getting nowhere, because there's so many different perspectives, and then say, okay, so what do we do now? Like, what's the right thing to go with? Maybe you have two sides, like, half of us are deciding this, the other half is deciding that. and we don't know what is really the right way to go about.
And then it's nice that someone just breaks like, okay, this is just what we are gonna do.
Yeah, so, it's a lot of them trial and error. Hey, guess what,
kind
guys?
Of having a direction.
First try this, then we see if this doesn't go, then we try something else. That kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it can go both ways, but I think, as you said, it's important to note that like we give an ear, listen, and then we see like, okay, maybe this information is good, maybe it's something we didn't think about earlier, this kind of thing. The parenthood part, raising a kid, is already quite a challenge as a couple, as a family, and if it's add into the mix that it's coming from two different cultures, forget about two different families, we're talking about two different families of two different cultures, that's quite a lot of fun. So we're gonna have to cover that one probably in the next one, because that deserves, I think that deserves a whole segment on its own, probably.
Exactly. So if you want to like keep on following, I think
stay tuned. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more podcasts.
See you the next time.
See you.